Hello everybody, welcome to FPL Gameweek 10 Deadline stream, and it's live. Hope you're all well and just about ready to get your teams locked in for the deadline, which is 1 hour away. Just while obviously I wait for people to join in with the chat, please allow me to obviously share the stream with my dear friends on Twitter and on my Patreon Slack channel. My team this week, I have made one change. It was made very early in the week. I sold Charlie Taylor for Ruben Diaz. I knew when I made that transfer that it was going to take me a -8 if I wanted therefore to get a Kevin De Bruyne or a Raheem Sterling. I have decided that the -4 Kane to Jamie Vardy captain is not worth it in the immediate, because I would still rather prioritise getting the right Manchester City player next week. So I'll be lining up this week with Emi Martinez in goal, back three of new signing Ruben Diaz, Andrew Robertson, Nico Williams. I don't know if he's going to play. I got a feeling that he might, because Liverpool got so many issues in midfield that I think Milner might play in midfield and Nico Williams might have to play at right back. If he doesn't, I've got Kyle Walker-Peters and Ayling in reserve. I've decided just to go Kyle Walker-Peters over Luke Ayling as first substitute, but not a lot in it, to be very honest. Midfield, I am Son, Grealish, hoping for a start from Phil Foden. Can't sell him now, I've got to these fixtures. Bruno Fernandes as captain. I think he's the fifth best choice. I can't ever remember going into a game week where I wouldn't have had what, in my opinion, is one of the best choices. But those who regularly listen to my streams will know I've been saying for a couple of weeks, really like this potential fixture for Bruno Fernandes this weekend. So I think he's a natural fullback captain option for me. Up front, Raul Jimenez, who I just seemingly cannot get rid of at the moment, and that's another reason for not going Kane to Vardy for a -4. Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Harry Kane up front. First sub, Thomas Souček. You'll see on the graphics, top left-hand corner, provided by FPL Captain. He's the man on the graphics. You can give him a follow on Twitter. It's Captain with a K. Top right-hand corner, you'll see my team for the game week. That's locked in. And bottom right-hand corner, my top 10 captaincy choices for the game week in preference. I do believe Jamie Vardy is the best shout. Right, let's get into the questions. I can see they're coming in quite thick and fast. I will get through these as quick as I can. Those who are familiar with my Ask James streams and this stream will know that this is a lot faster paced. I will get to as many of you as I can. Good luck, everybody. Praise says, good day, James. How's your day been? Very good, thank you. Not too bad. Had a stream first thing this morning. Did a nice recording for our patrons just after with Suj. Took Harry out to the park this afternoon. You don't want to hear that. The FPL deadline's coming around. Who do I bench? Bamford, Kane. I mean, wow. DCL, Fernandes, Grealish, Jota, Ziyech or Son. Have a great game week. My goodness. How have you ended up with that strong and attacking? How many are there? 7. You must have another mid... Oh, you've got Son as well. There is all 8. Bloody hell. Jesus, that's brutal, mate. By default, I'm going to say Ziyech. By default. By default in terms of, out of all them, all the others, I think probably play 90 minutes. And that actually includes Diogo Jota this week, having had a break in midweek. So, Ziyech. But you're going to have an ongoing problem here, mate. Probably make a decision at some point in terms of what you want to do. Benny Blanco, hi James, it's me again. You did say you'd come in and hustle me with loads of questions. Son and Kane out for Vardy captain and KDB for -4. What do you reckon? Excuse me. I don't hate it. It's what I'd have potentially been doing, but I'd been doing it from -8. I don't think it's worth it from that perspective. Excuse me. For me, the really important thing, Benny, and I can't stress enough to anybody enough who's thinking sort of Kane to Vardy -4, is it worth it? Honestly, jump off this stream and listen to the stream I did this morning, my Ask James stream, and go to minute 45 and I talk about it for 5 minutes straight. And I think I give detailed reasoning for why you might want to hold Harry Kane, and I give detailed reasoning for why maybe you should make the move. That is genuinely what I said earlier today, which I'm not going to be able to repeat now because it will go on for 10-15 minutes, is the answer. Is that worth it for a -4? In short for you, Benny, probably yes. But I don't know what players you bought price you bought Son and Kane at, and that needs to be part of your conclusion if you know that you might want them back. Because I think if you come off, you're not going back. That's going to be the case for many. Jack Wilson says, hi James, one question. Zaha out? Question. If so, Jota or Barnes in? If holding Zaha, I'll be playing Brewster against West Brom and means I get Zaha for West Brom following week and 2 threes. Thoughts? Bin him, I think. And I would go Jota of the two. I think it's worth a shout. I'd be amazed if he doesn't start tomorrow now, having got the break in midweek. So I think that it's a rare case where you're probably going to get Diogo Jota and think that he's going to play. I think the scary one this week is Mane. I think Mane get left out, personally. It's just an opinion. But I think that's the scary one, as obviously he was the one who played in midweek and hasn't had a break for a while. So I think Jota, yes, do it. You'll probably feel better for it, having been already on the extra Liverpool player for these fixtures. And of course, he's going to be an ongoing rotation threat as well. But I think this weekend is a good week to go to him. As I said this morning, I feel very different to how I felt on Tuesday when we did the podcast. And I said I didn't like the fact that people were moving early. Those who moved early, you've got the result. He didn't play against Atalanta. Now I think, yeah, it's very safe to go on. If City didn't have such a good fixture this week, I would potentially go Foden to Jota for a -4, but I'm not doing it now. Praise also says, do you think it would be wise to start Nico Williams or take a hit and bring in Cancelo and for who? Other defenders are Kilman, Chilwell, Cresswell, Mitchell. Start Nico, mate. However, longer term there, Praise, with Nico Williams and Tyreek Mitchell, you've got problems. My instinct is that Williams plays. Now, because I've got Cole Walker-Peters and Ayling sitting on the bench, if he doesn't, it's less of a problem. Yes, of course, there's the fear that if Milner plays right back again and they suffer another midfield injury, that Williams comes on and plays as sub. But I'm convinced the only reason he came on Sunday was because they lost Keita and they didn't have any other options they could go with in central midfield. And I think because of that, if Jordan Henderson's not back tomorrow, I think Milner plays in midfield and I think Nico Williams plays right back. Savanch says, first sub, Kilman or Dallas? Dallas, better upside. Max ML, is Rashford 100% fit to play? Got him captained right now. I'd be nervous about that. I've got him 9th on my list, but I've possibly got him too high. Possibly. As I've said previously, I think it's a great fixture for United this game week. Is he 100%? No, mate. No, he's not. Solskjaer said that today. He's not 100%. Does he probably start? Yes. Do you want to put the armband on him? I don't think so. What No Graphic says, hello James, hope you're well. Who to play? Walker-Peters versus Man United or Kilman versus Arsenal? Oh, you're very tempted because of Arsenal's attacking record to go with Kilman, aren't you? I'd be inclined to go Walker-Peters on that one, I think. That's a really close call. That if you're asking me, actually no, scrap that. I would probably play Kilman if it was me. But the upside's better on Walker-Peters, and that's normally going to be my conclusion. Tough one, because if Saints can keep a clean sheet, there's every chance Walker-Peters will walk away with a 9-pointer or more, whereas Kilman is probably 6 or 7 at very best. But yeah, it's possibly Kilman actually, maybe. An unusual one, that. Tommy Moody, just done Zaha to Jota. Is that a decent move, James? Have a good weekend. Tommy, you will like what I just said a couple of moments ago. Michael Svedin, thoughts on Jesus? Not religious, mate. The Emerald Pilot, good afternoon, James. Which option do you prefer? A, Jimenez to Bamford, no hit. B, Jimenez, Kane to Vardy, captain, and Bamford for 4 hit, captain. There's way too much going on here, pal. Not the -8. Get Vardy in for the -4 with Bamford. I think Bamford is a good one to complement that. Heiku says, hi James, can Newcastle keep a clean sheet tonight versus Crystal Palace? Yes, we did our predictions for patrons, as we do every Friday for all the games. We've gone 0-0. I think Suj went 1-0. Well, I've gone 0-0. I think Suj's gone 1-0 Palace. So, interesting one. Palace, Newcastle, poor Amazon Prime. Well, at least you've got Zaha versus St. Maximin to entertain everyone. Unfortunately, you haven't. Neither playing. It looks like St. Maximin hasn't travelled. That's the word, apparently. And the rumour is he picked up an injury yesterday. But even if he hadn't, Bruce was going to drop him anyway. That's the rumour. So, I mean, you expect that to be low scoring, don't you? So, yes, can. I think You know, if you're sitting there with a Jamal Lewis or something, it's a differential. If you look bad defensively this week, he's not the worst pick. Jake Cow says, wait for the Chris Wood header to ruin your day. Oh, no doubt about it, mate. Listen, I've been waiting on that Chris Wood train for ages. And when he scored against Palace, I was so gutted that I'd sold him about 4 or 5 weeks earlier. Danny Burns says, hi, James. What do you make of a -4 to do Dean to Cancelo or Diaz? Which of those would you recommend and why? And also, James, Rodriguez to Salah captain. Is it the wrong week to ditch J-Rod? It probably is the wrong week. But if you're getting Mo in for captain, I think he starts. Look, none of us really know where he's going to be at fitness-wise. I didn't watch the game Wednesday, if I'm honest with you. But I heard by reports he and Liverpool weren't great. But to be honest, the run-out might have done him good. So I think, yeah, you're good. On Cancelo v Diaz, look, I bought Diaz earlier in the week. I wanted, because I'd now got Nico Williams, I needed something with a bit more security. If you've got the other 4 defenders are all solid, regular starters, I can completely understand why I'd go Cancelo. Diaz is liable for rotation as well. It's just a little bit safer than Cancelo, particularly with Mendy, who's back but unlikely to play again, having played the majority of the game in midweek, and Zinchenko's also back. And the thing with these weak fixtures is, look, they are weak fixtures. Guardiola is liable to rotate in these games. He said that himself. Praise says, do you think it necessary to take a hit and bring in either Salah or De Bruyne? I don't have Vardy as a captaincy option, but I've got Fernandes, who I would have to take out for either. I have Jota. It's a difficult one. What my team doesn't represent on the screen for you is that for me to go Salah or De Bruyne right now, it's a -4 for me. And it's probably removing Kane and Son. He's probably where I'd have to go to do it. I'm not convinced yet. I'm not convinced that I want to because of the goal involvement of both of them for Tottenham. Do I think it's necessary? No. I think this time next week, I'll be sitting here thinking I probably really need to get De Bruyne off Sterling. I don't feel like it is. That said, City's record at home to Burnley over the last few years is... It's 5-0 the last 3, and I think 4-0 and 4-1 before that. So we joke about it with Turfy Topper, our Burnley correspondent, every year, that they batter Burnley every year. But eventually that's going to stop. City aren't firing for goals. Tomorrow's going to be interesting because Guardiola says he's basically saying he's going to try and get the 2 wide players closer to the front man to get more people in the penalty box. Because he knows himself they're struggling for goals. So it could be the wide players particularly benefit. It could mean a deeper role for De Bruyne. It could even mean a higher role for De Bruyne. I don't know the answer to that. And second guessing Guardiola is never a particularly good idea. Is it necessary? No. Because if it was, I would have done it. David Withers says, hi James, thoughts on benching James or Kyle Walker-Peters when I already have Chilwell and McCarthy playing? So I presume that's Reece James. My instinct is Chelsea play wing-backs tomorrow. Not tomorrow, on Sunday, sorry. I think Lampard might change the system. Just historically what he's done against Big Six opponents. So if I say to you, I expect Reece James at right wing back, does that help make your decision? I think it does. Eric Castillo says, what's up, legends? Should I start Brewster or Kilman this week? Thanks. Brewster. I mean, if you're not going to play him against West Brom, you're never going to play him. And I realise there's some very good fixtures for a lot of people this week. But I think if that's the choice, give him a shot. I think he plays. I think he comes back into the team this week, Ryan Brewster. DJY5, hi James, hope you have a nice weekend. Thinking of bringing in KDB, but concerned with him not being in the squad the other night and lack of training pictures. Maybe he has COVID. What do you think? No. I mean, he was given a rest the other night. Same with Kyle Walker-Peters. If he had COVID, we probably wouldn't know about it, but I don't think you can worry about these things. I think 99% of us have just read De Bruyne in the week and Kyle Walker. It was just a rest. Training pictures, I don't read too much into that personally. Chris Wood says, yes, James, good to see you, sir. I've already done TAA to Diaz, and I'm about to burn -8 to move Son to Salah and Jimenez to Vardy. Bring it on. Well, if you're going to do a -8, do it properly. I think it's fine, mate. Good luck. Ayub says, hi, James. Play Podence or Brewster? Feels like Podence's turn to miss out for Wolves. Although I suspect that he's going to go back to Traore on the bench, actually, Nuno. I think Brewster plays as well. Again, it's Brewster. West Brom. Give it a go. You'll know how you feel about him afterwards. Salmon Andrew 17, Diaz or Laporte or Cancelo. Kind of already explained Diaz, Cancelo. I don't think Laporte is worth the extra over Diaz. It's worth saying, obviously, Aki is the natural stand-in for Laporte to cover his left-sided centre-half. But obviously, he's out with a hamstring injury. But I think we could comfortably see John Stones, for example, play that position in some of these home games coming up. I think Laporte he's very conscious of. He can't do without. So Diaz, for me, is the choice. Jack Wilson says play Soufal or Cole Walker-Peters. I think I'd go Soufal, mate. Fintan H. Fintan, thanks for your DM the other day, mate. I'm pretty sure that's you in the chat. Hi, James. Thanks for all the recent pods. Was planning Zaha to Jota and Ziyech to De Bruyne this week, but 0.2 short. Is it worth a -8 if I had Kane to Vardy to find that cash? Yes, I have Son, he says in brackets. Ooh. I don't think it's worth the 8. But I don't know, obviously, who's coming in your team for Zaha, because essentially it's 3 players for 2 there, isn't it? So that's important. Who's coming out the team if you make all 3, or who's staying in instead? My instinct is it's probably not. It's probably not. Chris Tellis says, hi, James. Good luck. Thank you. You too, Chris. JKS, -4 hits to go. Rashford and Brewster to Vardy and Dale Stevens. At least pick someone who's fit, like El Neni. Would captain Vardy if did this and Bruno otherwise? Rashford and Brewster to Vardy and Dale Stevens. I just... nah. It doesn't sound right to me. I think it's a no, mate. Stick with Bruno. Frank Sherman, good luck, everyone. All the best, James. Thanks for the content. No question. Appreciate it, Frank. Good luck. Dragan says, hi, James. Play 2 out of Ayling. Cole Walker-Peters. Kilman. Well, definitely Cole Walker-Peters over Ayling, because that's how I've set up my bench personally. Kilman, where does he fit into that? I think I'd go the other 2 over Kilman, personally. Who did I say I'd play Kilman for earlier? Was it versus Brewster? I can't remember. Ayling, Cole Peters, I'd actually go them 2, I think. Ronan says, hi, James. I'm thinking of saving my free transfer this week to enable DCL to Bamford. Good for you, Ronan. Miles says, hi, James. Greetings from Canada. Fantastic content as usual. Who do you think gets more points over the next 2 game weeks? Grealish or Sterling? Would be from -4 either way for Barkley. Sterling. It's got to be, doesn't it? Really? I think. We don't know the impact on Jack Grealish yet with his Barkley injury. It could be a real shrewd move to come off for those who own, but obviously the fixtures look so great. I don't think anybody's particularly thinking of doing that at the moment. It has to be Sterling, Miles. FPL Soccer Crazy. I'm still struggling to pick my captain this week. You really fancy Jota? I've got Jota 8 for my list. I do think he's a decent shout this week, mate. But I think if you're considering between Vardy and De Bruyne as well, I think it's one of them 2. My preference is for Vardy. Tommy Moody, just done Zaha to Jota. Is that a decent move, James? Have a good weekend. I feel like you might have already asked that, Tommy. Just as usual, guys, the usual warning for repeat questioners. I will go back and mute you and your questions won't get asked again in future. So, Tommy, do yourself a little favour, mate. Go through the chat, be smart, and delete all your messages you've got in there before I do it for you, sir. Joville, Soufal and Lewis or Grealish and Watkins in my starting 11? I presume you're picking one of the 2, one defensively and one forward. I mean, it's obviously Grealish or Watkins, but I don't really understand the question. I'm assuming you got to pick one of Soufal or Lewis. If that's the case, I would probably just go Soufal over Lewis. Optimus Prime says, hey, your opinion about Mahrez for the next 2 game weeks? Can be at game week 12, Salah in, Mahrez out. It's a lot of money to hold back in the bank for a couple of weeks, my friend. Can you not just go De Bruyne or Sterling instead in that case? I mean, that's my immediate thought. Edwin Guan, Watkins, Adams, Bamford. Who is the best? Okay, this is really interesting. So, Watkins best on fixtures, unquestionably, although it's not the best entry point, probably next week or last week. I know, obviously, blanked against Brighton. Those were the 2 optimal times to go in. Bamford, statistically brilliant. I don't think the fixtures matter so much with Leeds. And Che Adams at Price, absolutely brilliant. Got Brighton and Sheffield United following Manchester United. Then a couple of difficult ones, then Fulham. That's the next 6. I think if I was buying today, I'd buy Bamford. Actually. Just about. But if it asked me again next week, and I would say Adams. I'm very conscious of Watkins because I want to see how the reaction is without Barkley. So Bamford, Adams, Watkins. Matt Clark says, hi James, do you prefer Ziyech and Brewster to Jota and Bamford, or Lookman and DCL to Jota and Bamford? Okay, the easier one here would have been, who are you selling, Ziyech and Brewster or Lookman and DCL? Depends on what you want to do with your strategy, right? You're happy to go with two up front, generally speaking, I'm guessing. Lookman is a great time to get off right with the next 3 fixtures. He's fine at his value, particularly leaving him as a bench player. It's kind of similar with Souček. DCL's not the right week to come off, I don't think, mate. So by default, I'm going to say it's probably sell Ziyech and Brewster. Edwin Grand, thoughts on Jesus? I know someone already asked about Jesus, and I was only joking. Jesus, great captaincy option this week. I think he starts. He's never the player you feel like is going to go and get 3 or 4 in the game, which is why he kind of ranks under De Bruyne and Sterling, who goal and assist alone would probably outpower him, to be honest. With a potential for the clean sheet point as well. So that's why I favour them over Jesus. Looks like he starts this week, but beyond that, it's gonna be a bit scary, I think. Jamie Faint, 2-in-1 James. De Bruyne in for Son from -4. Already have Vardy for captain. Bench Souček or Brewster. De Bruyne in for Son from -4. I'd rather make the move next week for 3, I think. I'm not desperate to get De Bruyne, personally. So obviously that I couldn't make that direct move. I'm not sure if I would, to be honest, because I can't. I haven't given it too much thought. Bench Souček or Brewster. It's the week to play Brewster. You got to go for it. Coolio 2 I don't see my captain in the top 10. If it's Sadio Mane, my friend, I am very worried for you. Jonathan Boland, evening James, want Jimenez gone for Vardy. Need to sacrifice one of Grealish, Son for Jota. Given Barkley's injury, I'm not convinced Villa at the moment. And neither am I, Jonathan, as I've just said. But I don't think that means we should come straight off, because we don't actually know what the reaction is yet. We don't even know for certain if Grealish plays in the same position. So I think it's not a need to sacrifice. Unless you have to sacrifice one to get Vardy in. Bloody hell. I don't think it's right to sell Grealish yet, so by default I'd have to say Son. That's not right. Selling Son for Jota, I don't think that's right. Victor Sandberg says, take a hit to remove Barkley and replace with someone similar midfield. Or should I go with Brewster for this game week? Do you know what? You might learn a lot from the extra, but Victor, if you can go to Jota for a free transfer, I think it's bang on this week. Nicola Torco, hi James and good evening. Looking forward to your stream as always. You the man. Cheers, Nicola. Jeremy Khalid, bench Cole Peters or Aylin. Have a look at my bench. That'll give you a clue, I think. Jacob NH, evening James. Do you think Jimenez and Lookman to Bamford and Jota is worth -4? I quite like that. I think that's a decent move, mate. Yeah, don't mind that. Dante says, headache team. What, mine, personally? Yeah, I love a good headache, mate. The only thing that gives me a headache is Spurs. Nicola also says, my FPL dilemma of the day, getting Grealish for St. Maximin or getting City defender Diaz Cancelo for Charlie Taylor. It's kind of what I've just done is Diaz for Charlie Taylor. Your opinion, why Cancelo over Diaz? Mendy back soon plus walk on the right. Yeah, you don't need to explain that. It's fine, my friend. But we don't think St. Maximin's travelled for Newcastle, so kind of depends what your bench is, Nicola. I'd say if you're forced into a position where you're going to have to play Charlie Taylor, I'd prioritise that and get Diaz in for Charlie Taylor personally. If not, you might decide Grealish for St. Maximin makes sense. But again, I'd flag Jota. Genuinely is a real possibility to consider if you don't own. Edwin Gran, who would you transfer in first, Salah or KDB this game week? KDB. Just purely on the basis that Salah's fitness, I don't know where it's at, personally. And enough concerns in terms of I don't really know how Liverpool are going to line up tomorrow. That's concerning. In terms of, it might even be a 4-2-3-1. I wouldn't be surprised if Minamino played tomorrow. It really depends on who's fit from them in midfield. He might have to go for a 4-2-3-1 with something like Milner and Wijnaldum in midfield. I don't know. Jassim Jazz says, sorry, well lad, Kane and Zaha out for Che Adams, KDB for a 4. I mean, because of Zaha's absence, I think yes. Jassim said, hi James, I want to take out Son for a hit. KDB or Salah. Already got Robertson and Jota, no Man City asset at the moment. I think you've answered it in your own question there, Jazim, or I did a minute ago. FPL Hitman, hi James, how's it going? Thinking about captaining Bamford. Have Salah, KDB, Kane, Son as well. What say? I say you got cojones. No, the Everton defensive stats, they're bad. I tell you what would really put me off that. You're going to know, I think. I don't know how Everton set up tomorrow. Played a back three at Fulham. Now lost Luca Dean. What's the impact? Is it where we play left wing back, right wing back? Does Kenny play right wing back? Is Kenny in at right back? Does Fabian Delph play left back? There'd be too many question marks about how the opposition are setting up for me to have any confidence in what I'm doing with the guy going forward to put the armband on him. So it'd have to be a no for me, mate. Ronan says, hi James, sorry for all the typos. I blame my phone on laptop now. My question was, DCL to Bamford to allow Son to KDB. It's not the right week to sell DCL, in my opinion. It's just not the right week to sell. Tommy Moody, evening James. Score predictions for Spurs on the weekend. I'm going 2-1 Chelsea, mate. I'm more confident I was this time last week, and obviously we went on to win. I think anybody who watched the first 3 or 4 minutes before Son scored went, oh fucking hell, I can see what James was talking about here. And then the goal changes the game, and then defensively we were brilliant. As I said, I'm more confident I was this time last week, but I think Chelsea have... I think they'll change the system. As I said, I think they might play 3 at the back. They come at you from more angles with greater tempo. They have players who can change the game better from the bench, which it speaks volumes for Manchester City at the moment. We'd have a lot of players coming back to fitness like Sterling Aguero, so there's mitigating circumstances to that. But we can also hurt Chelsea on the counter-attack. Both teams are at their strongest in transition. And Tottenham probably won't allow it too much. If we can make the game frustrating for Chelsea, we've got a chance. But I think the sensible prediction, honestly, would be Chelsea will win. Downstairs says, evening James, hope you're well. Was hoping to save my transfer this week, but now thinking of ditching Mane and or Fernandes for Salah and or KDB. How come you prefer KDB for captaincy over those? So, I mean, we can't have certainty that Salah plays because of fitness, but I would say 95%. De Bruyne is as confident as I think you can ever feel with the break in the midweek, excluding for the guy who said earlier I hadn't seen him in any training photos, which I wasn't aware of, but that sort of thing doesn't bother me. So that alone, De Bruyne just over Sterling. That's why I prefer them over Salah. And let's be really honest about it. Bruno Fernandes away to Southampton, it is a tough fixture. As I've said for over a week, I just think it's a great fixture for Bruno, and it's the number one reason why I'm not powering into any of them guys ahead of him in that top 10, is that I think he might get me through this game week. So to answer your question, genuinely, as I've said already, Mane this week, I'd be really worried about. And I could have that completely wrong, but I just think everything that Klopp said, the fact that Mane's played again in midweek, played all the game against Leicester, they've got Champions League again, Tuesday, which they can't afford to lose. I think Mane's a sub tomorrow, personally. And look, Mane looked like when he played Norwich in February. It's him that came on and scored the goal, and that could still happen tomorrow. But genuinely, I don't think Mane starts. So that is probably going to make you move Mane to Salah or KDB. And I think the immediate, because of the doubts on Salah, for me it would be KDB. Sam Robinson says Watkins or Bamford and Grealish or Rodriguez. Buy in, pick. If I was buying Bamford, to be honest, I just wouldn't leave Bamford out of the team against anyone at the moment, the amount of chances he has. I'd probably still liable to go Grealish over James. Obviously, great fixture for James this week. I think if he was buying one, it's probably James. No, it's probably Grealish, actually. Sorry. If he was starting one, it's probably James. But you shouldn't be in that position to be making those decisions. Look, you have to define the question for me. Sorry, Sam. Rishi Patel says, who would you prioritise, Salah or Fernandes this week? Have plans to get the other next week. Well, I might be selling Fernandes next week. It's part of my potential strategy. So if you buy now, you might as well buy Fernandes now. But I think it's probably just Salah, actually. Miller Marsh says, want a Leicester asset but can't get to Vardy. Barnes for Ward-Prowse. Look, you want a Leicester asset, but don't do it for the sake of it. If you really want Harvey Barnes for James Ward-Prowse, crack on. Don't get a Leicester player just for the sake of it, just because they're playing Fulham and you feel like you want or need one. Ward-Prowse delivery against Manchester United. Scored against them in the past, I know that. So, I wouldn't... I mean, I like the transfer. As a free transfer, Ward-Prowse to Harvey Barnes this week. So it looks absolutely fine to me, personally. But only do it for the right reasons. Well, lad, Kane and Zaha out for Adams KDB from -4. Feel like I already covered that and said yes. Sort of PFK. James, have you watched the last I guess it's Man United Champions League game? Thought they were amazing in the new setup. No, I'll be very honest with you. I didn't have enough time to watch Champions League games in the week. They also played the weakest team in the group. It's like going, Tottenham looked amazing last night. We played a Mickey Mouse team. That's one of the weakest teams in the Champions League, albeit that they beat United 3 weeks earlier. Don't read too much into that. I had all this 4 weeks ago when United went mad over Leipzig. Everyone remember that? That was a new system as well. Oh, Man United with a diamond. That went well when they played Arsenal, didn't it? Don't read too much into the European games versus Premier League. Clayton said, hey James, have I missed Team News Roundup? You haven't, mate. 9 a.m. stream this morning, I did that. In terms of what's new this afternoon, I'm kind of covering it off as we go. But it's not on the Deadline stream, it's on the Ask James stream, which it's already up on YouTube. If you want to watch the first 10 minutes of that, there's a decent summary on there. FPL Hitman says, if City have another poor showing tomorrow like a 1-0 result, is it better to invest 11.5 million on someone else? Don't have Bruno, for example. Listen, if City win 1-0 tomorrow, you send a City player before they play Fulham? Nope. I think I can potentially skip Burnley and go next week. So I would love City to win like 1-0 tomorrow, or even better, draw 1-1 or draw 0-0. The Tottenham head here, guys. And then get the right one and captain next week where everyone goes, no, I'm just not doing this anymore. So I know that I want next week if I can. Or Recluse says, hey James, would you start Chilwell and Mendy against Spurs? Surely you boys get a goal. Meslier to my backup keeper. Surely Everton get a goal, don't they? Play the big boys, mate. Yassine said, by the way, Vardy, KDB and Bruno, who do you captain? On the screen, bottom right, Yassine. Stefan B, Diaz or Cancelo. Covered that a few times already. Tom Bolton is a -4 for Podence to Sterling. Then play Sterling ahead of Souček Adams. Worth it. Leaves me 0 in the bank and no City defence. I have Mane. I mean, it sounds absolutely... I mean, Sterling in for Podence as part of a -4. It sounds absolutely right. Okay, you're going to have no City defence, but they're all probably going to get rotated anyway. And listen... We know we see. I've gone in because I think, look, them 4 home fixtures before I wildcard in Gameweek 16. Burnley, Fulham, West Brom, Newcastle. Really, it could be 4 clean sheets, couldn't it? That's why, oddly enough, I'm going to prioritise one of them defensively. Because I'd look at Diaz and go, you know what, mate? You get me 28 points over the next 6 game weeks. I'll take that, your value. Thank you very much. And the attacking threat he offers from set pieces could easily be a 12-15 pointer in there also. So actually, that's why I prioritise Diaz personally. But on that particular one, Tom, it kind of sounds worth it. I might be completely wrong on Mane, guys. It's just my opinion, and it would be wrong of me not to share that. Super Tiger says, hi all. B Conway, I have both Bruno and Rashford with only enough funds to get a City mid via Bruno. Would you skip that move if I already have Vardy as a captaincy coverage? Yes, I would, mate. Abelardo says, Tom Bolton, bring in Cancelo. I'll do the answering, thanks, mate. Kartik Rao, did Souček to Jota, or at least at the guy, so I know you're responding, would be better. Kartik Rao says, did Souček to Jota and Taylor to Cancelo? Good man. Miles Impet, who to play? Brewster or Ayling? Cheers, James. Enjoy the weekend. Say it again. Brewster's week, guys. Abaldo says, Phil Foden on the start 11, is it a risk? I mean, obviously, every fucking week, mate. Atul says, hi James, I'm curious, how many Spurs caps do you have? Chew answer, I have 2. This one probably does need to go in the wash, but I do have 2. But I'm not going to lie, this probably does need a wash. But as you know, I'm not like full of hair, right? So it's not all bad. I tend to keep myself clean, even though I'm not really going anywhere. Great question. Mahesh says, Kane and Zaha out, go for Vardy and Jota or Salah and Bamford. I like the Vardy Jota there, mate. FPL Warrior, hi James. DCL to Vardy, got him at 7. Grealish to Jota, got him at 7. Or Son to Sterling KDB, got him at 9. Or Roll, got Bruno and Rashford. If it's free transfer from them, ditch Sonny. And then reassess. I don't think it's the right week to bin DCL. I don't think you got the information on Grealish. Heung-min Son, look, a 9.5, if you've gone up, is still easy enough to go back to. So, I think that's the one for you, mate. Edwin Guan, who would you sell first, Kane or Son? It's not an easy answer because it really depends what you're doing with what moves next. So for me, it would probably cost me more to move Kane than Son, because I'm probably shuffling them funds into midfield. Whereas Son next week, it might be easier to get to and do that. So for example, I want to move Jimenez on, right? So I move Jimenez on, who's playing Liverpool next week. I move Jimenez and Kane on. That doesn't fix my problem in midfield. If I move Jimenez and Son on, I can obviously then get to De Bruyne, Sterling, come down Jimenez down to, say, Che Adams. So for that reason, Kane is the more likely to stay for me. But it's going to be completely dependent on everybody's setup. Jovial said, are you playing a head-to-head FPL league this season? Head-to-head league are so unpredictable sometimes, then a dead team can beat you. No, I'm playing draft with a load of my patrons, and I am kicking arse. Unbeaten so far this season. Just a shame my real FPL team is shit. Himanshu says, good afternoon, James. Kane to Bamford and Bowen to Salah for -4. Have 5.4 million in the bank. I don't know the maths, but I'm going to assume that's enough. I don't hate it, especially obviously if you're sticking the armband on Mo. I don't hate it, mate. Super Crank, own Son and Ziyech, have to bench one as own Barnes and think he has to play Fulham. Who would you bench? I don't think you can bench Heung-min Son. Even in spite of saying like I think Chelsea win, I don't think you can bench Heung-min Son. Because if Tottenham counter-attack properly on Chelsea, he's likely to be the beneficiary. So if I'm wrong and Tottenham go to Chelsea and win 3-1, Heung-min Son might go off. Whereas I don't quite think that's the case the other way with Ziyech. You couldn't bench Heung-min Son in any game. Truthfully, on the choice of them, I'd be still very tempted to leave Barnes out, actually. Jordan Fogarty, hi James, bench Bamford, Watkins or Son? I can't make my mind up, thanks. I mean, these are brutal decisions. Watkins, because we don't know what's going to happen with Villa. But shit, I don't know how people leave themselves in these positions. Karan Yadev says, hey James, hope you're doing well. 2 FTs and want to get rid of Jimenez. Who should I get? Already have Kane and DCL. I think it's one of the cheaper boys, so Adams or Bamford would be the call. I think it's one of them two. I'd probably just edge to Bamford this week, but I'd edge to Adams next week. So, but one of them two. Free up that money, mate. J23, I have 4 players tied up in the Spurs v Chelsea game. Do you think that's too many for one game? I stuck for now as it's one game, but in future would be good to know if should have made a transfer. Good, don't panic about it. You got to remember, right? Let's just say hypothetically you've got Kane, Son, James and Chilwell. But the game might finish 1-1 and they could all return. It's not impossible. So don't worry about that too much. I've been in a position where I've gone into like City v Liverpool with 5-6 before and you just put your hands up and go, it's going to be a shit week, but I'm better off for it on the other side. So if you want to keep all these players, absolutely fine. It's never ideal because automatically you're putting yourself in that position where you're really unlikely to have an amazing game week. But it's still possible. Of course it is. So no, don't worry about it. You've got the right mindset already there. Just forget about it. Move on. If you want to keep the players longer term, it's always fine. Nathaniel Mayer says Kane and Vinagre. Fuck me, it's a name I ain't heard for a while. Zavardi and Diaz for a -4. Really need defensive reinforcements. Taylor, Walker Peters and Ayling all having tough fixtures. I think you've answered it, mate. It's a do it all day long for that one, I think. Tom Bolton says, such an exciting week to Wildcard. Chance to bring his City and manage Liverpool assets. Help me hold my knees by talking about Game Week 16 Wildcard benefits, please, James. Okay, I do have one that I mentioned on the Patreon pod this morning, which was really likely to help you a little bit. Obviously, the December TV fixtures came out yesterday. The really, really good news for those who were looking to wildcard in Game Week 16 was no announcement of the January the 2nd fixtures, which is Game Week 17. Game Week 17 essentially has to now be announced prior to basically Game Week, I think it's 15 or 14, because they're not going to announce it during the middle of Christmas. It will be clear. The TV companies in the Premier League said they would announce December in one go. They said they would announce January in one go. Because of the January the 2nd date, which hasn't been announced yet, if January comes in one go, we should know all the fixtures for January, including the 18 blanks and 19 doubles, pretty much any time from Monday up to around about the weekend of Game Week 14, 15 at the very worst, and I mean like 3 or 4 days before the deadline. So we will know. I'm nearly certain that we will know the blanks and doubles for 18-19. Now my confidence in that has gone up from 95% to near on 100. The only thing that would worry me was if suddenly they drop the fixtures for January 2nd only, then we've got a problem. I find that extremely unlikely to happen because I think it would have just happened. They would have just announced it as part of the Christmas schedule. So we should be good for the blanks doubles to know what's happening if we want a wildcard in game week 16. You are also absolutely right though, Tom. If there was a week to wildcard, in my opinion, this is it. It is this week. City, Liverpool and others. If I was wildcarding now, I'd have 6 between City and Liverpool, definitely. Then I would bin Spurs. I would shove the fixtures around completely. It is the right time to wildcard if you want to do it. I think if you go past this week, forget it. This would have been the last one for me. If I'd have walked into major problems this week, it was the last one where I'd go, yeah, I'll pull the trigger. There was almost nothing that would make me wildcard now before game week 16, personally. But yes, I do believe this was the right week if there was an alternative. Pontus Johansson says, hi James, good evening. Grealish, Ziyech out for Jota for a hit. Nah, not for me, mate, not for a hit. Antonino Guito, do you reckon Brewster starts this week? If I don't start him against West Brom, will I ever? It's kind of the point. And to answer your question, yes, I think he will play. That's my guess. We are 19 minutes to deadline according to my time, guys. So obviously just bear that in mind. I may not get to you if you ask a question now, but I will do my very best to get through these as quick as possible for you. William Jones says, hi James, hope you're okay, mate. I know it's difficult to call, but you reckon Rashford starts against Southampton, currently holding a knock apparently. I think he will, but it's a danger. As I've said kind of near the start, I mean, I've got him 9th on my captaincy list because I really fancy United to score a few this weekend. That's probably too high now, and I generally wouldn't recommend putting him as captain, having heard that news before I started. But I think he will start. But it's definitely not an armband one now, I don't think. Super Tiger says start Brewster or take a hit to bring in Cancelo for TAA. Other benches, St. Maximin and Lamptey. My other defender is Taylor, so not expecting much from him. No, you probably expect nothing. Probably is a 0-pointer for Charlie Taylor, isn't it? Start Brewster is definitely a reasonable option. A hit for a Manchester City player for TAA is reasonable if we know that TAA isn't available next week. And do we actually know? I mean, why has he hung around for so long? That'd be the first question I think I'd want to ask, really. But look, if you're going to take a hit for a defender, by all means, yeah, take it for one who isn't going to play. Ed Locke says, hi James, was thinking of moving Son to De Bruyne and then De Bruyne to Salah in game week 12. What are your thoughts? Seems completely reasonable. Might be exactly what I do with my next 2 game weeks. Anthony Chung says, what are your thoughts on Rodriguez and his recent performances? I'm thinking of doing Rodriguez to KDB for a hit. Already have Vardy captain. When you're jumping up to a player like KDB and you've got that much money sitting in the bank, it's very hard not to pull the trigger. So I don't hate that particular move. Although, again, on the Everton assets, I don't think it's the right week to sell. I actually think Leeds will beat them this weekend. But at the same time, it's kind of seen by Leeds at Palace, Leeds against Leicester, they can get done badly on the transition. And in Richarlison, they now have a proper ball carrier. I think Rodriguez is probably carrying an injury, is my instinct on that, Hansi. Not quite being what we saw at the start, personally. Abualda says, hi James, Grealish or Ward-Prowse, who should I bench? Can't be benching Jack Grealish, in my opinion, mate. Gavin Welsh, Sterling to Jota, Brewster to Jesus, Lamptey, Laporte. I don't know what the question is, mate. OP says Jesus or Vardy. Vardy, mate. Jesus might get an immediate return, but it also get an immediate headache next week, I think. Peter Randall, -4 for Mane, Souček to Jota and KDB. I don't have Salah. I like it. Francis Bellardi, I got in Jamie Vardy just now, plays Kane. Thanks for sharing, Francis. Bualdo says, is Grealish worth keeping in start 11? You've done that once already, mate. Please, can we avoid the repeat questions so I can get through as many people as possible? Vinyl Richie, evening, mate. Good luck for the weekend. Winning team, top of the league. What a priority. Target to Diaz or Kane to Vardy. See, you say that, Rich, but surely if Liverpool win and then you win, aren't Liverpool top of the league? Or is your goal difference better? I can't fucking remember now. No, aren't Liverpool on 20? So Liverpool could finish the weekend top of the league, can't they? Don't Liverpool go top if they win tomorrow? That'll fuck us both up, mate. Heavy Finger 7. Cheers, James. All sorted. Dropping on the stream to say thanks to all the insight. And hit a like. Best of luck, mate. Thanks very much. Yeah, I should do that bit, shouldn't I? Please subscribe to Planet FPL. Hit the like button. All that things. If you want to buy me something nice for Christmas, wait till Tuesday. Then sign up to Patreon. That would be lovely. Abueldo, is Foden a good asset? I can't fucking tell you anymore, but he's still sitting in my team. I can't sell him now. Daniel Lambert, what leans you towards Sterling over Salah for captaincy, James? Salah's fitness. That's it. Not knowing what his fitness levels are like. And also, I don't even really know what shape Liverpool are going to play tomorrow, so that's why. FPL PTSD, Sky question, is Zaha to Callum Wilson worth doing for the next 3 Newcastle fixtures? Come back and put that in the chat again at 6:30 p.m, please, my friend, and I'll come back to that. Sam and Andrew, cheers, James. Great stream. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Nathan Champness. Who would your preference be between transferring out Zaha and Barkley? It's interesting that because Suj is in exactly the same position where he's got both. And it's coming down to value a little bit, where selling Zaha, even though Barkley's out the longer and Zaha's got a good fixture next week, selling Zaha is probably the one that's going to get him the transfer that he wants. So really dependent. The priority to sell should be Barkley because it's a hamstring injury, right? He ain't going to be back next week. Wilfried Zaha probably will be. So Abash says Ferran Torres or Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes. I'm not convinced on Torres personally. I know that it's a hat-trick for Spain against Germany and all that. Wasn't convinced what I saw of him last week against Tottenham. You're flipping a coin whether he plays or not, right? Basically, you've got Torres, Sterling, Foden, and Mahrez, and 2 of them 4 are going to start unless he decides to shove Foden inside, in which case it's 2 of 3. And we haven't even added Bernardo Silva into the mix. I think Guardiola should get Foden into a central position with De Bruyne. I've been long-standing my opinion of that, but I don't pick the team, and he obviously knows a lot more than myself. But I'm not keen on Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres to me just sounds like the same Phil Foden problem. And genuinely, if I'd landed these fixtures now, I wouldn't have been buying Phil Foden today. If I was buying someone at that value, I wouldn't have been buying Foden. I'd been buying Jota. Honestly, I would buy Jota over Foden now. I don't think it's worth a -4 for myself personally. So, no. I'd go Barnes over Torres. I'd go Jota over both of them. You may already have. Tommy Moody, prediction for the big game for Spurs this weekend. Have a good one, James. Chelsea 2-1 is the correct score that I'll go for. MD Medi has San Onic. Great name. Which pair to choose? Werner and Jota or Salah and Bamford? You're buying players here. Sounds like you might even be on a wild card on that. If that's the case, you're probably going to be better off having Salah there and ready. So that combination. Ritam Chowdhury, which defender to pick? Soufal or Walker Peters? Have Grealish but no Man United players. Yeah, I can understand that because I quite like the all-in strategy where, if Southampton win 2-0 and Grealish scores against West Ham, then that's the perfect ideal scenario. And I like to go down that route. I think it's close enough that you possibly can make that selection. As a straight head-to-head, Soufal is probably slightly the better choice. But because of what you said, I don't mind going Walker Peters there. Finley Farris says KDB and Vardy in for Kane and Son for a 4-point hit. You're about to buy the 2 best players in the game potentially in this weekend. So as long as it doesn't kill you on the value, and as long as you know you're probably happy not to go back to the Spurs boys, crack on. Bouncy Castwell says Cresswell or Conser for the next 3 game weeks. Conser. Edwin Guan, thank you, James, for putting up with us and the work yesterday too. You're very welcome, mate. Javinho99, hi, James Wilson. Content as always. Thoughts on Leeds defenders, Dallas Ayling going forward. Thinking of freeing up some funds and going forward. Jamal Lewis, 4.3 Newcastle, good fixtures to enable Son to KDB. I don't hate that. I said, Lewis, to be honest, 5 decent fixtures for Newcastle. Palace, Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham. Not awful. There could be some clean sheets in there. So Lewis is a little bit of an enabler. It's short term. And then you need to figure out what once you hit Christmas, you're going to want to be benching him. But yeah, don't mind that. Dallas Ayling, I don't have a problem owning Ayling, and I don't think anybody else who owns Ayling will be bothered, and I don't think anybody else who owns Dallas will be bothered. I wouldn't be looking to buy them now. Ask me again in game week 12 when they got 3 out of 4 at home, West Ham, Newcastle, Burnley. I might answer that differently. But no, Jamal Lewis, oddly enough. Jerry B93G, start Kilman or Dallas. Is that the one I answered earlier? I think I might have said Kilman. Amar says, hi James, I've got Son, Kane, Salah with 2 free transfers. Option 1 out, Robbo. There's so much going on here, mate. Option out Robbo, Rashford for Cancelo and KDB. Captain, KDB. Option 2 out, Robbo, Rashford, Kane for... I ain't advising you to sell Robbo, mate. There's too much going on in the question, mate. I don't like either option, I'll be frank. Andres says, good evening, James. I think Matt Kilman over Ayling this week. Don't see Arsenal scoring, to be honest. Let's hope they don't. Ayling is going to have a hard game against Richarlison. That's very true, I believe. But then could have the flank, obviously, with Dean not there. On that, by the way, I'm surprised nobody's mentioned Nkunku. I think Iwobi will play left wing back tomorrow. That's my instinct on that. Omar says, what's your thoughts on that? My thoughts on that are, it's too bloody confusing, Omar. 9 minutes to deadline, guys. Sidar says, Salah or Vardy captain. Bottom right hand corner of the screen, mate. You might find a clue. Azzy, you probably answered this so many times, but how do you compare Barnes and Maddison as FPL assets? Maddison at the moment, not one, especially in this 5-4-1. If they move to a 4-2-3-1 and play him at 10, he could be amazing instantly. And I think Leicester might actually even do that this week. But at the moment, you couldn't buy him, just on my hunch on that. Sultan says, Calvert-Lewin or Jota for captain? We've got Calvert-Lewin 6th, Jota 8th. There you go, Calvert-Lewin. Joseph says, opinion James about Rodriguez this game week? Fine, don't sell, don't buy. He's in that category. FPL crazed, not just make their own decision. Yeah, do people not just make their own decisions? Generally, no, mate. You're here as well. Badman Tunes, double up on Zuma and Chilwell or play Kilman. Double up. Savant says, Dallas plays in midfield this week or no? Yes, I think he possibly does. It's worth saying. That would, in my predicted team that I did for the patrons, I had Dallas in midfield. Yes, because Hernandez, Shackleton's still missing as well. So probably yes, but it could be that they go Rodrigo and Click as the two behind Bamford, and then you've probably got Dallas at left back. So Tim Lum says, evening James, which game do you think will be the highest score in this game week? Not Arsenal and Wolves. Southampton and Manchester United. Slaughter PFK, Bamford is my vice captain. My vice captain always does very well. That's no bad thing. As he Roman's 1000th game of Zona v Spurs this weekend. Is it? Let's hope we fucking ruin it. Badman Tunes, your footy knowledge is on point. Good stuff. Cheers. Amar. No. It's too much in the question, my friend. Lots of love, but it's too much going on. David Hackinson, evening James. Do you think Abraham is an option for considering price and his minutes to return seem decent? They do, but Havertz is fit. Pulisic is fit, so he's his numbers don't really matter because I think eventually he's coming out the team. You also say, evening James, am I stupid? No one's stupid for anything. That's the same fucking question, of course. J Lodge, hi James. Hope you're well. What do you think of Podence and Mitrovic for Brewster and Jota for a hit? Would mean benching either Brewster or Souček. Good luck all. If you're going to play Brewster and bench Souček, if that's what you believe and that's what you want, I don't mind that. Hi Harry, if you can hear him, he's having a moment. Joseph Herodchu, sorry if I mispronounced that. Do you think Foden will start? Instinct says yes, but that's no more than a guess. That's like 51% confident, mate. Mr. A, hi James. I suppose now Son and Kane will stay in your team throughout the season. Not necessarily. Mourinho to sub goalkeeper, the young lads, including 16-year-olds, simply amazing, isn't it? Come on, you Spurs. To be honest, I was watching the game and was saying, please bring these boys on. I'll talk about that in 6 minutes because I want to get through the questions for the deadline. Matt Stacey, Mitchell to a City defender for a hit. Have Walker Peters as third defender? Probably yes. I don't see Mitchell playing unless PVA was to get injured, personally. Javinho99 predicted 11 for Spurs at Chelsea, James. The same team that played against Manchester City, except I think Sanchez just to get the nod over Rodon at centre-back. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rodon plays, actually. Otherwise, I think it will be the same team. Bergwijn, Lucas will be a close call. It might be that it's Lucas for Bergwijn, and the idea with that being that Lucas would probably be the first player substitute. I don't think Bale will start. Stian Bosdell made Kane to Vardy this week for a -4. Needed a hit to make Sterling to Salah next week. Asked last week what to do with Maximin, so this week he has become Jota. Love it. Jordan Harrison, evening James. Hope you're well, mate. Who do you see being the highest scoring premium player this season? good question. I still think when we're all said and done, it might be Mo Salah. Joseph says, hi James, we've done that one, mate. Let's not do the repeat questions, please. Pepsi, hi James, got 6 of you front 7. Luckman, Lamptey, Strick, subs thinking of rolling, so do a mini wildcard next week. Good idea. You got Lookman as cover as a sub, so that's fine. Thomas Delmont, best Barkley replacement from -4. Foden, Torres, Jota, the last one, Jota. Vikram, bench Che Adams or Saka. Don't be benching Che Adams in any game, mate. Rio, Mane to KDB or Bruno to KDB. Mane to KDB or my instinct. J23, cheers James, hope you have a good weekend. Srijev, Madison or Barnes, can't afford Vardy. Barnes, FPL Warrior, I see you fancy KDB over Sterling. Do you think KDB will move deeper against weaker opposition? Yes, it's possible. Far more confident he's going to start, to be honest. Herm says Mane and KDB. Mane and Kane, for KDB and Vardy for a -4 hit. I think it's decent. Timing wise could be good. G Shet third. Hi James, who to play? KWP, Kilman, Dallas. Kilman probably, but if you've got no Manchester United coverage, Cole Walker-Peters. Jasim said, do you think Pulisic start against Spurs and rest for Werner? No, Pulisic's not going to start. I'd be amazed. Pete Haley, is there something wrong with Aston Villa? Just joined in. Loads, mate. Seth Ryan, KDB or Salah in for Son? KDB at this moment would be my preference. M. Tresensi, 4 minutes to deadline, guys. Brought in Dean for TAA last week. Brought in Justin last night for Dean. How long till Justin loses his spot? Thank you. Probably the moment Ricardo Pereira is fit. That's probably 2 or 3 weeks away. Fintan says, hi again, James. Which 2 to play out of Reece James, Conser, Kilman and Ayling? Reece James, definitely. I'm probably Kilman. Just. It doesn't feel right though. I really should be saying Ayling, but the sneaky is that Wolves really could clean sheet at Arsenal on Sunday night. The D production, do you know what's going on with Castagna? I should bench him. Is he playing? Put him in the team, mate. He'll either play or he won't. We think he'll probably make it. Caspiano, who to captain? Fernandes, DCL or Vardy? Bottom right hand side of the screen, you might find a clue. Super Tiger, thanks for answering my cue. TAA survived, has had other fires to put out. Good luck for the game week. Thanks for the superb content. You're welcome. Driss, get Diaz or Cancelo. Thanks. Depends on the rotation scenario of your squad. Personally, I prefer the safer choice of Diaz. FPL Warrior, KDB in for Son and Jota in for Rashford on a -4. Don't hate it, particularly with the injury doubt on Rashford, although I think he does play. I'd probably leave it, to be honest. A March best 5 million defender. Oh fuck, you put me on the spot there, haven't you? Jamal Lewis 4.3. I mean, Reece James just above is definitely obviously the standout for me. Really short term, who's got a good little run of fixtures? Villa, Ezri Konsa, you could do worse. Irish Maverick, best captain out of right hand side of the screen, my friend. William Jones, sorry James, just one more. Should I start Mitchell over Ayling? He ain't going to start, mate. I'd be amazed. You can do that, but I don't think it's even worth bothering, mate. Joseph says, you didn't talk about Werner. I don't need to, mate. Mission fit, first substitute, Mitchell or Brewster? Brewster. Emmanuel said, best under 6.5 forward. Bamford, then Adams. Keep an eye. Antonio coming back. We haven't mentioned him. I don't think he starts Monday, but Suj thinks he does. Eric Solly says, hello James, need your brain. There's loads going on here at this time, mate. Rashford to Jota and Grealish to Ziyech to KDB or Robbo to Bella and Castagna, first option. Bloody hell, -12. No. Eric says, cheers from Norway. David McCann, start Kilman or Reece James. Reece James all day, mate. Kevin Memmy, hey James, not an FPL question. What is your opinion on football banning orders and do you think some aspects should be changed? Please ask me that again in a couple of minutes. FPL Hitman, good luck. Joe Finibada, hi James, am I stupid? You know you are. Stanley says, Adams or Dallas, who to start? Adams, FPL Hitman. Did Harry get the assist? Doesn't he always, mate? Jammy Jim, Werner to Vardy, Son to KDB, or both for a -4. If you can do Son to KDB in 1, I like that. I'm going to guess you can't. Amrach, Grealish versus Jota. I mean, what does that mean? Great players. Play them both this week. Find a different solution. If you're buying one, I'd go Jota now. Patrick Lawson can't decide whether to get Salah or De Bruyne in for Son. So doing neither. FPL Hitman, Dyer or Davis. I told you this morning, Derek Dyer. I was right all along. Abdurrahman Adama against Arsenal. Could be fire. Nicola Torco. Kyle Walker-Peters over Mitchell. 1 point at risk. Yeah, go Kyle Walker-Peters, mate. Or play Chris Wood over both of them. Don't like leaving forwards out at round about Chris Wood's value. If Burnley score, it would probably be him. I'd be tempted to start him. And I will finish on it because it's deadline time has gone now. Abdullah Rahman says, I am fucked because I have Mitchell, Robertson and Justin and Arnold and Lamptey out. If Mitchell didn't play, I'm fucked. To be honest, I think it was fucked without him, mate, but not to worry. FPL Hitman says, I meant Harry Linden assist. Why, he was making the noise. I know, mate. Nicola Talker says, thank you, James. You're a young god. I'm definitely not a god. And guess what, mate? I ain't fucking young either. So, deadline's passed, guys. I hope you're all locked in and set for the game week. Don't make early transfers. European football again next week, etc. If there's anything you guys want covered in the next 10-15 minutes or so that are not FPL questions, I'm happy to hang around till 6:45 and get them covered. Somebody asked me about Tottenham and Mourinho making subs last night. Really pleased, because the only time I got interest in the game, I was like, get the kids on. And Dane Scarlett was brilliant. 16 years of age, had a serious injury about a year ago as well, was already recovered. And he nearly scored twice. Harvey White came on, nearly scored. And Alfie Whiteman's a lovely story, because he's 22. He hasn't got a future at Spurs, basically, but he's been around, he's been on the subs bench. I think he was first on the bench about 5 years ago, you know, and he's never played for the first team. So really nice that he got a showing. It's a shame that there weren't fans there. I'm always a little bit with Mourinho. Feel like it's one that he'll put in the stats. You know what I mean? It's one that will come around in a year's time, and some people say, "Oh, you don't blood youth players at Spurs or something." He'll go, "Oh, I played all these 3 kids." He'll name like 4 or 5 kids, and between them they've played like 28 minutes in Europa League. I'm always conscious with that with him, but it was the right thing to do. I thought he could have got them on a little bit earlier, actually. They're good. Harvey White's a good talent. Midfield, lovely little left foot. Reminds me a little bit of Tom Carroll, but he's got a better build than Tom Carroll, and he'll fill out. And Scarlett looks a really lively, pacey forward. Came on and played left-hand side forward, but ideally he's a striker, really. Good potential. The problem is with kids at that age, you never know what's going to happen with them, really. Right, let's see what we got. So Kieran Thompson, so many duplicate questions is actually funny. It's like they think asking more than once will get it done faster, even though he just scrolls down. Good luck all. To be honest, what happens is I'm going to go back afterwards, and where people have asked the same question twice, if they haven't realised their own mistake and retracted the message, I'm going to go and delete them and mute them, and then their questions won't come up next week. So you might think there's loads of mutes. What you don't know is I've possibly muted a loads of those that you're seeing repeated, and these guys are pressing the button going, he ain't covering my questions. And I warned you fucking once already, and I've warned you again now, and I'll warn you again next week. FPL PTSD. Was it you asked the question before? I feel like it was. Hi James, pondering, not a repeat question, but for Sky. Hi James, pondering Zaha it was Callum Wilson in Sky for the next few weeks before moving him again. False. Okay, because we've got time and we can relax a little bit more now. Let's get the old Sky planner up and have a proper look at this for you. Because I do have it knocking about. If he goes the right way. My own beautiful little spreadsheet. So, you're saying Zaha to Wilson. What you don't want to end up with, and what you potentially end up with, is Wilson for the 5 game weeks. But you'll be better off if you're going Wilson tonight, which I think because they're playing Villa next Friday as well, is acceptable. As long as obviously he's in the team. But I think you should probably sell after they play Villa, and look at alternatives, and get gains on from some other teams. So it might be a good jump on for a Leicester player on that Sunday, for example, might be one example. Perhaps even West Ham if Antonio's back fit. That could be a really nice move, you know. You go Zaha to Wilson for the 2, and then by the time Antonio plays Manchester United on the Saturday, he might be fit. Then you got Antonio on the Saturday and then against Leeds on the Friday, and you just keep jumping. Rather than we get obsessed with Sky about 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, chain moves. So something like Zaha to Wilson, Wilson to Antonio, on again after West Ham play Leeds. That's a definite escape now. And you might suddenly find you've got, before what feels like the 3rd weekend has happened, you might find you've had 4 games and 2 captaincies with 2 transfers. Might work that. Jammy Jim said I could do it for 1 free transfer, so I did Son to KDB just in time, kept Werner. Thank you so much, James, love the pod, appreciate that, good luck Jim. FPL Hitman, you got through the questions. Think that's a first? It's definitely not a first, mate. Lax Pravin said DCL triple caps in. I saw someone else was doing that this week, actually. FPL Badger, hi mate, looking ahead, you'd said you'd fancy Fernandes to do well at Saints and as it's his sort of game. What's your thoughts on his potential returns at West Ham in game week 11? More of a block, more difficult. You've obviously got the 5 to get beyond. West Ham can revert to what they're the very best at, or not the very best at, but what it's best for them to do, which is obviously play with more of a 5 than a 3. Rice protecting and patrolling in front leaves Soucek to do his box-to-box thing. And I think it just becomes a far more difficult game on paper. It's also a game, if you remember, when they played in the restart, Old Trafford, West Ham played well. And it was a game Bruno got very frustrated in. He actually had a VAR potentially to be sent off, if you remember. And then it's Manchester City afterwards. So on paper, West Ham away should be easier for Southampton. But I think tactically for Fernandes particularly, it's not as such. If I get to next week, I still got Bruno Fernandes in the team. I'm not going to worry about it. And as it stands now, obviously I haven't looked at a bus team yet. I mean, I'd probably go Kane over Fernandes next week. But it's not bad. Like, it'd still be a captain option next week away to West Ham. Particularly if you saw something from West Ham on Monday night that made you concerned in terms of the way Grealish or Villa get at them, for example. But it's the contrasting in styles, Mark. FP Warrior says, and breathe. Kieran Thompson, custard creams or bourbons? Custard creams. Although I would rather start with a few bourbons and have custard creams after. FPL Hitman, how's your Champman team doing, mate? Not too bad. I got 82 points last night, which I didn't. Obviously, I was watching Spurs, so I don't have a clue what was going on. I dived on the stream at the end just to let them all know that Harry Winks has scored a very Champman-like goal. But it looked like it was good fun for some monster scores knocking about. So I was pleased that the 82 had me a green arrow at 300 and something. I can't remember. 300 and something. So off the pace, but I'm probably in that bracket where, green arrow is good. I think I've got 11 at home again in game week 4. I've rolled the transfer this week. I'm kind of in prep for the game week 5 doubles and then, or doubles should I say, and then what might happen beyond. So in a decent position. I mean, for me, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Strategy wise, it's the sort of game I should do well on in terms of fixtures are so important. Rowan S says, hi James, what's your best Gaza memory? The goal against Arsenal at Wembley in 1991. I can still remember being in the stadium because obviously it was the old Wembley. And it's the big scoreboard and a little Coca-Cola sponsorship down either side at either end. And I just remember it saying on the clock, Arsenal 0, Tottenham 2, and the 10, and the circle went round the 10, 7. And my dad saying to me, you never need to go to Disneyland, this is it. So that, definitely that. I got a bit upset thinking about that. Yeah, definitely that. What a player. So underachieved. I saw someone ask me about comparing him and Maradona earlier, which you can't do. But Gaza kind of should have been the heir to Maradona's throne in the sense that he should have taken over the mantle as best player in the world. I mean, not as good or to that higher level, but he should have become the best player in the world, and he didn't really. What a player. He basically won that cup on his own and then got injured in the final, and then the rest of the team decided to basically win it in his fucking honour for getting him there. It was a good story. Kevin Remy said, hey James, not an FPL question. What is your opinion on football banning orders? And do you think some aspects should be changed, such as fans being allowed to drink in stadiums? That's a very deep question, Kevin. I presume that you're referring to people getting banned for a year or two for whatever reason. I don't know, use of racist term, violence or chanting, whatever. Certain thing. If someone's in a football stadium being racist, get them the fuck out. I think we can all say things that are regrettable in the heat of the moment, like, you tell someone to fuck off if you've had a few or something like. There's about racism, it's just unforgivable that it can fucking leave your mouth really in any circumstance. Particularly, I mean, I use my Tottenham head when you got 60,000 people surrounding you. Fuck me, you shouldn't think the things, but don't say it. That's a broad question, Kevin. I tell you what, if you want to slide in my DMs and define on that in terms of if there's a particular opinion that you've got, by all means do, and we'll have a little chat about it later if you want, mate. Amarch says, what do you think Arsenal need to come back as a contender to the Premier League? What, to win it? A whole new fucking squad, mate. I think they've got the right manager. I think he needs time. I think he's building the shape of a team that eventually wants to get better attacking players to complement Aubameyang. Or, to be honest, because of his age, I know he signed a new contract, but replace him in a year or two or whatever. That they'll be well set if they're patient with him. It's going to take a long time. G-Shet for JFB, am I stupid, James? You know you are, mate. Love it. I was talking to Joe Finney Badder, weren't I? Yeah, there he is. Joe Finney Badder played with Brandon Austin in my Year 6 district team. His dad's about 6'10". Well, Brandon's got more potential than Alfie Whiteman. I mean, he's younger as well. Brandon Austin's played for England at youth level, I think, under 19. Decent keeper. I've seen him try a couple of times live. He's a really good talker, actually. I've sat behind goal at Luton and Wimbledon, so I've been really close to him, and he's quite vocal. He's good for that. Needs to fill out a bit as a goalkeeper, but I mean, if his dad was 6'10", there's every chance of that, Joe. No problem, Seth Ryan. Stian says, so in the other Q section, do you seek advice from other pods? If so, which ones? Great question. I don't have a lot of time for pods anymore, unfortunately, but I used to religiously listen to Tom and Nick on Who Got the Assist, and it's the best one for me because their style is nothing like ours, and Tom Cantwell's become a friend, to be honest. He's a great bloke. Love the Surgery boys. I've Rich and Josh doing great things with them. I'm actually going on the Surgery not this week but the week after the North London derby, which could be quite interesting. Love the Surgery boys, love the Amigos, but I've kind of got into YouTube a little bit more. Obviously being in house, it's just more suitable than a podcast, which I know doesn't really make sense when my main content is podcast. It's just easier because I've got Harry as well. It's not like with podcasts you want to listen to it, so how often have I got an hour and a half to sit down without him bothering me? So sometimes late at night, but then invariably it gets to that stage, and then me and the wife have got a bit of time together. It doesn't happen often, or she goes to bed and I'd rather just stick something to TV. So I end up putting YouTube on. So I like what Mark and Az are doing on Black Box. I think they're so good. I've said that a few times before. I think they're doing great. I love the madness of Elite FPL, so I always kind of tune in every now and then to see what Steve-O's up to with his car crash stuff. Love Andy, Let's Talk. Lee and Sam, FPL Family on Sunday night. I mean, there's so many good content creators. Is there any that I religiously turn to? The honest answer, unfortunately, I don't have time. Between this deadline and the last deadline, I haven't listened to a minute of anybody else's FPL content. I just haven't had the time. I need, it's that hour travelling to and from work does me the world of good for podcasts, and it's a little bit of a regret at the moment, but I still tune in to all of these guys that I've mentioned and more as and when I can. Man on Pod, guys are on our Patreon, listened to them recently, really good, doing kind of combined FPL Sky, Champman, got everything in there, really good lads. There's so many out there, but there isn't, in terms of seeking advice, I'm very straightforward in terms of what I look for in my FPL decision. I normally know before a weekend's finished what I want to do with my team, and I don't seek any confirmation bias or anything like that personally. It's like with Sky the other week. Everyone said, don't buy Joel Matip. And when I heard all the boys on Hub, and the Hub boys are great as well, saying that they've just blanked out Matip. And so for me, even more, I'm getting Matip. Fuck it. That's how I'm like. Mr. A says, Mourinho is really trying to help everyone happy and getting minutes. FPL, do you think maybe Mourinho has found a good fit at Spurs? Seems like he might be sticking around long term, do you think? I'm starting to buy into what he's trying to do. Like, I can see it now. That was always my gripe in the restart. And I know as soon as Spurs win something, or if I say something complimentary about him, I know everyone's going to be, you said. I know that shit's going to happen. I am A, allowed to change my mind, and B, drawing 0-0 at Bournemouth and losing 3-1 at Sheffield United in the space of a week is a little bit different to being top of the fucking league. I'll tell it like it is with Spurs. I'll predict if I think we're going to get beat. I'll predict us to win if I think we're going to win. I tell it like it is. That's how I've always been. And he's starting to win me over. Of course he is. The main thing is, it's not even so much the defensive stuff, because now, unlike last season, I can see what he's doing with defensively. I don't like particularly how we played last Saturday, but I can look at it and go, yeah, do you know what? That worked. I can invest in it. And when I see the effort that the players are putting in, then that makes me think, yeah, I can go with this because they're buying in. Now I see the players buying in. When I spoke after the Sheffield United and Bournemouth games, the one thing I said, they're not playing for Mourinho, so you might as well fuck off. Now they are. Something's changed. Losing to Everton in game week 1 might have been the best thing that happened for our season. Because I think he just went, fuck it. I've got to do something with this. Or I think he recognised he was going to be in trouble himself. And that seems ridiculous to say now. But yeah, genuinely, 3 months ago, he was in, not even that, 2.5 months ago, he was in trouble, mate, if he didn't get results quickly. And obviously then he fell on the Southampton game. So very instantly everything was forgotten. And then 2 weeks later he got the Man United game. And it's already like that in 3 games. It's changed. And then the players have got the self-belief from that. FPL Hitman, what did you buy for Black Friday? I haven't. Do you know what I wanted to buy? It was something from Art of Football. And it's actually to put behind me possibly. It's like a cartoon of Mora's goal in Amsterdam. I thought it might make a nice background. FPL Hitman, do you like video? Do you like the video, guys, before leaving? Thanks very much. I'm probably going to have to wrap this up tonight. So I'll just give... there's way too many questions. I ain't going to get through them all, guys. But I'll do the ones that I saw on my screen. So, Cabby Lobacta, Evening Boss. I guess like many, I get limited chance to watch YouTube. Would it be possible maybe for some kind of highlights thing from the 24-hour show you did? I'm not sure I'll ever get to it. I haven't even got back to it myself. I still haven't watched the final 6 hours. And I watched all of the first 18 hours the week after we did it. Because I had to remember it. Mentally, I was so fucked the next couple of days. We were fucked. On the Sunday night, I said to Serge, I can't pod tomorrow. It's fucked, mate. And he was like, yeah, still the same, fuck that. And it was a bank holiday. And that's the only time we've ever said, nah, I'm not podding tomorrow, sod it. I mean, you know, we still did like 8 pods that week, come on. But, I mean, to edit all out, it's probably not easy now. It's a man-child job, so it's if he's got the time, really. I'd need to go back and watch through it all myself to find the best bit of the highlights. It'll be quicker for you to watch it. I don't know why I haven't watched the final 6 hours yet, because I suspect they're probably the best of it. Abdulrahman, hi, I saw that's 15% a triple captain on Vardy versus Fulham. What do you think about that? I think it's made up bullshit, mate. FPL PTSD, Frank James, without looking at my plan, I think I had Wilson down for 3 games, but we'll check again, and definitely got Antonio on my radar. Cool. Joe Finney Bad, I reckon Gator will actually get anything for our Sky teams tonight. Me neither. It's either 2 or 9, isn't it? So, or 4 or 18 with the armband. So let's see, mate. FPL Warrior, just seen Kane is set to drop on FPL statistics. Seems crazy to me. He will keep ticking over nicely, I think. Yes, okay, mate. Joe Finney Bad, I haven't listened to the Sky Patreon pod yet. Did you talk about Gator replacements? Joe, I've talked about everything. You don't need to listen to it before the game tonight, but I suggest you listen to it before you go to bed. It's one of the best pods we've done. Afterwards, I was like, and I'm going to finish on this because otherwise I'm going to talk all night and the missus is going to go, what are you doing? But I was waiting for the fixtures all day. Then at 3:30 I got wind and was doing it. They were coming at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, I opened the planner, edited all the fixtures, sent it to the patrons, got in touch with Suj, bam, recorded. And all I had in front of me was the spreadsheet. I hadn't looked at my team in terms of thoughts or anything. And I think we produced something incredibly detailed over a 45-minute period that kind of got everything in. And if there's anything, obviously, off the back of that show, obviously, by all means, DM me and I'll come back to you tonight, or worst case, tomorrow morning if it's after you listen to the pod or whatever. I'll be up late because I'm doing my own Sky planning tonight. But yeah, it was a great pod. Afterwards, I was like, fucking hell, that shouldn't be on Patreon. It's too good. Yeah, listen, sometimes you've got to give yourself self-praise. I think it's nice to take pride in what you do sometimes. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Otherwise, I will go off it. But thank you for everybody who's asked questions. If I didn't get to you and you're in there in the end, you want to pop me a DM, please do. I will come back to you tonight. Appreciate all the questions, guys. Next week content, 5 more pods for everyone. Obviously 3 next week, another 5 on Patreon. If you are thinking of joining Patreon, please don't do it now till Tuesday. Because it's first of the month. I don't want you having to pay twice in the next 4 days or so. But if you think, do you know what, I'd love to give James a Christmas present, jump on Patreon. That's the best thing you can buy. Oh, I want to buy you a beer, James. Jump on Patreon for a month. If you hate it, leave. That's the best present you can buy me. See, I know you'll like it. There's different tiers for what your requirements are. Come and say hello. We're building a real community. There's over 300 of us in there now. And it's brilliant. It's better. The Slack channel's better than fucking Twitter. Miles better. For a start, got sensible people in there. Content will start next week with a look back on the football career of Diego Maradona on Monday. I think it's the right thing for us to do. There's a few times people have died over the last year or so, and I thought, should we do a special for them? And I'm not saying we wouldn't again, but I'm kind of pleased that we're going to do one. It's going to be for Maradona because that's proper legend. It's not to dismiss, obviously. I could have done something for the patrons on Ray Clements last week, for example, but I mean, in comparison, I think you will all enjoy the Maradona pod. Tuesday, full review of obviously whatever happens over the next 4 days. Wednesday, Sky, Thursday's Clash of Correspondence, Gemma and Harrison, West Brom, and McTavish, Crystal Palace. Be looking at the two of them. Friday, probably be same schedule as what I've done this week. Ask James, 9 o'clock in the morning. Deadline stream at 5:30. It's Villa Newcastle next Friday, isn't it? So yeah, 5:30 again. Patrons, you'll have the full works. Q&A Monday, Tuesday Tottenham, Wednesday to be confirmed, Thursday quiz, it's going to be Premier League related, and Friday obviously the Game Week 11 preview. Other than that, guys, thanks very much. Drop a like or subscribe on your way out. Really good luck for the game week. Hope your arrows are green. Have a great weekend. Ciao for now.